Hiya, it's Claire back with you today from Imagine Design Create. If you've been following our Facebook pages, you may have seen that I created this card earlier in the week. And I promised a video for you, so here I am today. I'll just show you around the card quickly. As you can see, I've actually mounted it now from when I gave you a sneak peek earlier on. This is what you saw beforehand, and I've just mounted this. I have actually used a card. I've used an 8x8 card, but please don't let that put you off. I use cards because it's just an easy canvas for me to work on. But don't let it put you off. If you want to put this onto a canvas board, a mount board, so you can frame it as a picture, perhaps take away the sentiment and you've got a lovely autumnal picture there for someone to frame, then obviously you can do that. So the fact that I use cards, please don't let that put you off. Anyway, so I'll show you how to actually create all this picture in a second. Sorry, it's just excuse the sun glare. I tried to minimise it as much as I could. I will take you around how I actually created this picture in a moment. It's all done with stamps by. So we have our family tree from Imagine Design Create. This is the A5 size, perfect for all times of year. I particularly like it because it hasn't got the leaves on, so it's perfect for these autumnal projects. We have the mini set here, which is the mini grasses. Now this is one that you would have seen me reach for time and time again, and probably on most of my Hochanda shows I think I've demoed with this as well. But this will come in very useful today. And of course, because we've got the autumn theme and Halloween's coming up, obviously we should be using pumpkins. Now I don't generally tend to make traditional Halloween projects. This is my sort of take on this, but it's something that would be ideal if you've got an autumnal birthday, autumnal anniversary. I think the colours on this and just like the traditional nature of the pumpkins would be an ideal gift to give. I just wanted to talk you through the background quickly before I go ahead and do the stamping. Now as you can see, I've got none of this stuck down because I actually wanted to talk you through what I've done, so I'll just move away those a moment. Okay, so you can see here then we've got the background. I've got a nice textured cardstock that I've attached to my 8x8 card blank, and what I've done, I've actually used a really little leaf die to cut out like a cascade of leaves from this back cardstock here. What I've then done, as you can see, there's a couple here that I haven't stuck down, so I've actually used the die to cut out the leaves directly from the cardstock. And I'll show you the small dies that I've got here. These are actually from a tonic set that I've got. But I know there are lots of leaves, little leaf dies around on the market. You may have some in your craft room, and more than likely have some on the Imagine Design Create website as well. So I've just used those, and I've just cut out a die cut there, but instead of throwing away the confetti part of it, the actual small leaf, as you can see here, I've taken those, I've colour tinted them with a bit of purple and brown distress ink, if you can see that there, because my intention then is to use the glue and paper piece these back in to that backing cardstock on my card there. Now, it's just another way to use your dies. If you don't have an embossing folder, which would also look good, if you don't have a properly themed embossing folder that would look good in the background, then this gives you an alternative, just another way to use your dies, and just gives you a different type of background. So all you can see there is, because I've colour tinted the leaves that I was actually die cut out, if I paper piece them back in, they stand out and they just give you a really nice sort of cascading look on the back of the cardstock there, ready to mount our stamped piece of artwork. Okay, so now I'll just put this to one side. Now I'm starting off with just normal white cardstock, as I usually do. Again, this can be found on the website. It's the matte and layer cardstock that we use. I have the mattes and layers here, which I have colour tinted on the main project there using the Nouveau glitter markers. So I have an orange and I have a purple, so that they match perfectly. So all you need to do is just colour just a really small border around each side of the mats there with these markers. And I'll just bring in the other project. You can see here that we've got the purple and the orange mats there, and it just means that you have full control over the coordination of the colours that you have. The other products that I'll be using are the Distress Oxide. Now you can work with any ink that you are comfortable with. Normal distress inks. I'm using mustard seed, ripe persimmon, dusty concord and forest moss. Now if you have these, then by all means go ahead and use the oxides and craft along with me to create this project. Failing that, what I would always say is use the inks that you are really happy using, because you know your product, you know how they work, you're comfortable, and you get a really, really nice blend from them. Okay, so I'm just going to start off with the blending and just creating the backdrop to actually stamp onto. I shall talk you through this initially, then as the project goes on and what I'm doing becomes more self-explanatory, I shall speed the video up so you don't hear me waffling on for the whole time. So you can see here I've taken the forest moss and a blending tool. These are homemade ones, like I prefer to use. I find them easier dynamically and better. They sit better in my hand. So I'm just blending some forest moss onto the bottom of the cardstock here. Working onto a non-stick mat. This is a tonic one that I have here, so it means that you actually maximise most of the ink that get on the mat. You actually end up pushing it back onto the cardstock, so it gives you a really smooth surface to blend from the mat onto the cardstock there. So don't worry too much about the blend being perfectly blended. If you still see some marks, that really doesn't matter, because we'll be over stamping on this, so don't give yourself a hard time about getting the best of blends. So I'm getting the ripe persimmon in now, and have another blending tool. We do want this to blend into the green here, so I'm just taking some of the orange, blending onto the mat first and working from the side inwards onto the mat here. And just small circular motions, not pressing too hard. I think that's the key. Leaving the tool really light in your hand, but coming in off the side and just working that orange onto there. So whether this is in the morning or in the evening, you've always got a really nice sort of orange glow at the start and the beginning of the day in autumn, don't you? And we just go back over with the green. You don't need to put any extra ink on it, but you just need to go over where that join is, and that just softens the blend between the two colours. And coming in with the mustard seed, again another blender, and coming in off the side, really light strokes again, and you always build up the ink, because obviously once you've put too much on, you can't take it away, and then you struggle to sort of remove the big blend and the big sort of splodge, as it were, onto the card. So really, really light. You can always add more if you feel you need to. So I'm just working this on, and I shall be covering the rest of the card with the yellow. I'm not going to block colour it. You can if you want. This is all personal preference and making the project pleasing to your eye. I always tend to go for a more minimal look. I'm not big on embellishments or anything like that, but as with all crafting, all projects, you take the techniques and the ideas from what I'm showing you and you make it your own. So what I am going to do, I'm just going to leave a lot of white space there, because to me that sort of represents the haziness of the sun and sort of the glare that you can still get from the sun on the bright autumn days. So I'm going to leave that as it is. I'm going to come back in with the orange, as I say, really, really gently, not putting any extra ink on, just blending over the line where the yellow meets the orange, just to soften that blend a little bit more. And just coming up the sides a little bit there, you can just see how the colour is starting to build up. Again, the advantage of you using the inks that you're comfortable with, you know how they work, you know how they blend, and you can use your favourite colours also. So just to finish this off, and just before I leave you and get to the stamping, well, so I shan't be leaving you, I shall just be turning the music on and working a bit quicker. I'm just going to come in with some of the purple, really, really light, and again, coming in from the sides, we're actually going to add a layer between the green and the orange there. Really, really light, coming in from the sides and just working your way across. You can see that adds a bit of extra dimension into the card. I'm just turning this round so I can work from this way, and you can carry on seeing what I'm doing. When this gives some sort of idea and perception of hills in the background, but also, if you remember, autumnal sunsets, sunrises, there's a whole host of colours, purple of which is included, so it's just nice to add that extra bit of dimension that's in there and add that extra bit of colour. So you can see here that with fairly simply with 4 colours and some blending tools, we've managed to create a really, really nice background to stamp an autumnal scene onto. Carry on using the same Distress Oxides we used to blend here. We're going to be using those to actually stamp with. Now this is the point where I'll clean up, and I shall probably switch you to a quicker mode as I carry on stamping. I hope you enjoy the rest of the project, and if you do manage to craft along or make a similar type of project, do tag us in on your photos. We'd love to see what you've been up to. So I shall continue, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Right then guys, I just want to dip back in again here and show you what it is I'm doing. I'm using the spider web we have from our Halloween set, this spooky spider set, and I want to create or stamp these spider webs so they're actually hanging off something, so they're not suspended in mid-air. So all I'm just doing is bringing the acetate carrier sheet that we store the stamps on and using the printed design on there as opposed to offering up my stamp, and just seeing how that looks and seeing which way round I would want to stamp my design before I play around with the ink so I get that right. And obviously, I want to stamp a few of these onto the grasses as well, so I just want to make sure that I can actually anchor the ends of the spider's webs onto the grasses that I've stamped there. Now I'm going to be stamping this in black Versa Fine because I think it stands out quite well on these colours that I've used, but what I think might be a really nice idea if you do try this is to actually stamp these and emboss them in gold or a silver to actually really make them pop. It might actually add a really nice bit of dimension to the card. So now I'm just bringing my stamp in, and I've inked it up with the black Versa Fine, and I'm just going to stamp there so we can see that the spider web is actually coming from the tree. And you can see here, actually, I just wanted to show, I've got a really fine micron pen, a black fine micron pen. You can just, maybe you can just see here in the detail that this spider web's end hasn't actually quite reached the tree. So all I need to do, just draw it in. It's only a really small amount, but it just means that the spider web isn't just hanging in midair. It just adds a bit more, what can I say, a bit more integrity, a bit more realism to what it is that you're creating. So I've just extended this bit down here to this grass blade there. So I hope that makes a bit of sense for you guys. Okay, so you can see side by side the two projects that I finished here. You can see the project that I showed you earlier on, I've taken a little bit more time to finish. So you can see that the shading on the pumpkins, I've taken a little bit more time over. But at home and at your craft desk, you can spend the time to do as much shading or as little shading as you like. But I think it was just a nice technique to demonstrate that although you can stamp with inks and the Distress Oxides, you can actually go in and enhance your image. Hope you've enjoyed the video today and the techniques that I've shown you, and I look forward to you joining me again next time.